for dueling. Now, dueling, that is a whole fucking thing, right? Um, Dueling is a gimmick or a feature exclusive to versus mode, right? You'll never get this in story mode, so you don't have to worry about it if you're only playing story mode. But for people who are playing with, for those of y'all who are playing with other people and are playing versus mode, dueling definitely is something that you should really learn. So, let me set up a game real quick. Oh wow. Let's see. Let's see. I want to get second. Yeah, I want to get second. I want to get second. So I'm just gonna use save states to force myself to get second place. Okay. Oh man. Well, I guess I don't need second. I can guess third works just fine. Oh jeez. Yeah, third works fine. I gotta use my mouse cursor better next time. Alright, so I need one of you idiots to get a 6, but not two of you idiots to get a 6. Or a 2, that works too, I guess. Remember, kids, always get criticals on regular monsters so you can steal twice as many rings from the opponent. And then also remember, spinners are not random. You can time your spinners to always get the results that you want. Alright, we got a 6, boys! I think Chow had 1 6, so I should have... Oh, the chances of me having another 6 are kind of low, it seems like. Yep. Alright, I will just time in S, and then that'll be it. Sorry about that. Alright, so... Duels will happen if you land on the same space as another player, and the space that has been landing on is a ring space or a battle space. If it is an event space, or like basically if it is not a ring space or a battle space, you cannot duel them. So if you are scared of duels, if you're scared of getting into a duel, you must avoid letting yourself land on a battle space or a ring space. Doesn't matter what, if it's red or blue ring, they both count the same. So once you land on a space, you will trigger a duel. Now, here's one important thing for figuring out who participates in a duel. The people who participate in the duel, because as you can probably expect, 4 people can land on one space, right? The people who participate in the duel are the person who has spent the most amount of time on that space. In this case, it is Gamma, because he got there first before anyone else, and the person who most recently landed on the space, which would be me. So if Chow had picked a 6 for whatever reason, right, and then Gamma landed and they dueled, and then I picked a 6 and then landed on the space where Chow and Gamma have landed on, I will duel Chow, not Gamma, because Chow was there first and I was there last. So the people who are in between first and last don't get to participate in duels. That is something that you can use to strategize with so that you can avoid dueling people that you don't want to duel while getting in duels yourself. So always keep that in mind with duels. It's always the participants will always be the first and last. Now, as you can see, there is a whole deck of cards, right? Specifically, though, there are 7, 14, 21, 20. It's a full deck of cards, right? So there are 4 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, 4 5s, 4 6s, 3 S's, and then 1 Eggman card. And then there are there are 4 of these red 4s, right? The red 4s, or red 4s, green 4s, fucking colorblind. The green 4s are called Eggman 4s, and Eggman 4s will give you a -5, as you can tell, or -5, for -4, as you can tell by the bottom of the text, right? The S card, when somebody gets an S card, I'm using my finger to point, but you can't see it. When somebody gets an S card, right? If I press the A button and I took the S card for myself, my number would turn blue. While my number is blue, the value of all cards that I collect, except the Eggman 4s, will be doubled. So if I grab an S and then I immediately grab a 6, I'll get a 12. The duration of S cards is about 1 second. If somebody gets an Eggman card, which would be this, all the cards that they own will return to the field in random spots. And just because of that, that is incredibly important, because 90% of the time, the winner of a duel is the person who actually uses the Eggman card, not avoids it. You actually want to use the Eggman card, despite what your what your heart may want to tell you to, right? Because in this game, also very important, right? The winner is determined by who has either the lowest score or the highest score. The victory condition, of which there are 2, is random. So when you get into a duel, you may lose from having a higher number because the victory condition was lowest total. In this case, right now, it is lowest total score. So I don't want to collect cards. But if you don't want to collect cards, how do you win? And this is where the next part of the rules come in handy, right? So, lowest total wins, and the buttons. For the players who are dueling, the A button will take the card for yourself, while the B button will send the card to your enemy. And then this is where the fucking fighting happens, like for real. This is where the crazy shit happens. So in this case, because the win conditions for dueling is lowest score possible, what this means is the Eggman 4s I want to collect for myself, and I want to send the S cards to Gamma while also sending him the big cards. So for lowest total, for me, I would send him an S card with the B button and then send him a 6 while the S card is doubling his score, so that he'd start with a 12, right? And then what I would also want to do is take the Eggman card for myself so that I can, one, any cards that he sends me will be returned to the field, because now that this is lowest, Gamma is going to be sending me cards. He's not going to be taking cards for himself outside of the Eggman 4s, right? So he's going to be sending me cards. I want to take the Eggman card for myself so that I can return all the cards I have to the field. Now, here's the thing about the Eggman card, right? The Eggman card, when it hits the character model, because it will travel across the screen, once this card actually touches Tails or touches Gamma, they will get stunned. They will fall down, and during this stun animation, they cannot move. It lasts for, they're stunned for about a second, I believe. It was 2 seconds or something like that. That period where they cannot move because they're being stunned by the Eggman card is actually a window of opportunity. And based upon when you grab the Eggman card, simply just using the Eggman card too early can still result in you losing, right? So like, for example, because the win condition is lowest total, if I go straight to the Eggman card and then use it, on myself, right? Because one, you want to use the Eggman card to help you secure your victory, but two, using the Eggman card locks the other player out of using it because the Eggman card will return all cards to the field except the Eggman card. So once the Eggman card is used, there's no more Eggman card, right? For the rest of the duel, no more Eggman card. So it's kind of like God Fist Rush and Hokuto no Ken, the fighting game, right? Where the first person who does the little dash animation, well, shit, that's a deep cut of a fighting game. I don't even know how much of y'all will understand that. But anyway, in Hokuto no Ken for the PS2, there's like this dash mechanic where you get the boost forward, right? It's called boost. And the ability to use boost is limited in the sense of when one person uses boost, the other person can't use boost for a while. It's kind of like that, right? So if I use the Eggman card, he can't use the Eggman card. But if I use it immediately, like right now, if I use it immediately with the intention of locking him out, me being stunned for like a second or so gives him the opportunity to send as many cards as he wants. So kind of what the strategy or the metagame boils down to is you want to use the Eggman card at the right time, not too early or not too late. Because if it's too early, you make yourself too vulnerable for too long, when there's not much at stake, and then you can just get fucked over, right? But if you use it too late, the other person's gonna get it. So you gotta. It's kind of like a game of chicken, right? You gotta figure out when exactly to use the Eggman card, whether you want to send it to yourself or send it to the opponent, depending on the win condition, so that you can maximize your chance of actually winning the duel. Because when you win the duel, two things will happen. The difference in score determines how many rings you steal from the opponent. So if I ended the game with 50 score and Gamma ended the game with 20 score, the difference is 30, so I will take 30 rings from Gamma. Or up to 30, or either 30 rings or however many they have left. Because if they have less than 30 rings, I just take everything that they got. So it's important to know how to use the Eggman card and when to use the Eggman card, because also, on top of taking their rings, the loser has to wait one turn. They lose their next turn. So that's also very important. So, with the lowest score as the win condition, kind of what ends up happening, at least in my experience, is depending on the order of the deck, because sometimes you'll get the distribution, the weighting of the numbers is not balanced. There have been games, right, where on my opponent's side they get S's and 5s and 6s and 4s, and then on my side I get the Eggman, but I also get 1s and 2s and 3s. So the distribution of cards is completely random. There's nothing you can do about it, and that's also why this Eggman card is very problematic, because as you can see, it spawned all the way over here, right? All the way over here, so it's much easier for my opponent to get to the Eggman card than I can, than it is for me, right? So sometimes you just get fucked from the jump. I've had games where the Eggman card spawned directly on my cursor, and vice versa, where it spawned directly on their cursor, and there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to hold that L. Your ability to create very strong impromptu tactics on how to handle the situation is your biggest method of dealing with the randomness of how the card layout is. So, now that you have that general idea, only other thing that you need to know is that the non-dueling players can use the A and B button to rotate the cards in a counterclockwise or clockwise order. They will rotate 4 cards. And the non-dueling players can use that to influence the game in a particular way to help somebody that they want to win, or make sure that somebody that they don't like will lose. Now, moving on, right? This game has one big issue with it outside of the randomness. It's something called port priority. If me and Gamma tried to grab the same card on the same exact frame, right? I will get the card because of my because of port priority. That is very important to take into consideration, and not that it'll happen often, but that's just the number one issue with this particular game. So, now that you have this general idea, what ends up happening is the cards will then be made face down, and then the game will shuffle sections of the card. So as you can see, I stunned myself, but now he doesn't have access to the Eggman card. So, what in the world? Alright, bruh. Let me get rid of this message. Thank you. And homeboy, I need you to like not do that. Just that. There you go. Anywho, um, fucking lost my train of thought. So when the Eggman has been used up, at that point it kind of turns into a APM contest, right? Whoever can pick cards or send cards the fastest tends to be the winner, assuming there isn't like a huge gap in score already. So unfortunately, Gamma doesn't have any rings. So oh, wait, why doesn't he have any rings? Whatever, it doesn't really matter. That's the general essence of duels. So, easiest way to boil down duels is one, always read the instructions because. Let's see, okay, lowest total. Always read the instructions because the win condition will randomly switch between highest total and lowest total, right? Two, oh look, the Eggman card is in a completely different place now. Yep. So the Eggman card is in the top center, so it is, let's see, it's technically closer to me than it is to Gamma, so I have an easier time winning this game than Gamma did compared to the last game. So, one, always read the instructions. Two, always have a good idea of when to send the Eggman card. When to send the Eggman card determines also on the win condition. For highest total, you usually want to send the Eggman card right away because during that stun period, you can just grab all the good cards and then that'll lock them out of winning because it's a bit of a first past the post affair. Once you get to a certain score, they cannot win with the remaining cards. Okay? So, for highest total, you usually want to get to the Eggman card first, but for lowest total, it kind of depends. So, knowing when to use the Eggman card based on the win condition is also incredibly important. And two, right? You want to keep in mind when to use what cards in the field because there are 3 S cards, and S cards can be incredibly useful if you use them properly. They only ask for 1 second though, so you need to have a general idea or some sort of game plan in terms of figuring out how you want to use the S cards. And 3, when it comes to grabbing cards, you want to alternate inputs. You don't want to mash it at the same time. So you want to press left when you're not pressing X and press X when you're not pressing X. Because if you alternate cards, and if you alternate the inputs for cards, that's how you're able to grab cards as fast as possible. Because with this type of speed, no one can really beat you. So just off of speed alone, I was able to get all the cards for myself, use the Eggman cards, and then send all the cards to him before the computer can do something. Now, of course, if you're playing against another player, they're going to be competing theoretically at the same speed as you are. So being able to pick cards faster than them, knowing when and when not to use the Eggman cards, knowing when and when not to use the S cards, knowing what win condition is, because the strategies will change depending on the win condition. So knowing what strategies to use based on lowest score or highest score, those are like the keys. Those are what's really important to winning duels. That all being said, despite this knowledge and being skilled at the game, you very well may be fucked because of Eggman spawn RNG. Because again, if the Eggman happens to spawn really, really close to you or really, really close to the opponent, there may not be anything that you can do about it. So, okay, let's see. Let me see if I can get one that spawns really, really close so you have a really good idea of what I'm talking about. Nope. But, I think that about does it for duels in terms of just getting you to a due point. Okay, see? This Eggman is incredibly close to me. In a situation like this, let's see, is it highest? Yeah, in a situation like this is an unwinnable duel. Like, no cap. This is an unwinnable duel for Gamma. Because, as you can see, right, not only is the Eggman card on my side, very close to me, and its highest wins, but look at my starting cards. I have a 5, a 6, a 6, an S, and a 6. all in my first initial two columns. And then on top of that, I have an S card right here and an S card right here. That is an incredibly biased side. And sometimes you'll get card distributions like this that you can't do anything about. And that is what it is. Sometimes it just be like that. But, whatever. That's just how the curtains close, right? That's how the dice roll. You have to be aware of this risk when intentionally triggering a duel with an opponent. You have to be aware that sometimes you may just get fucked by bad card spawn RNG, and you just kind of have to hold that. Because if this game had triggered the duel, right, and I was on the right side, and this godlike side was for me on the right hand side or whatever, right, he'd just be like, oh well, I triggered this duel, but it's unwinnable for me as long as my opponent isn't completely inept at dueling. He's got good APM, he's got good awareness, stuff like that. Because while the duel is happening, the cards will flash face up so that you can see where the cards are. So you don't actually have to memorize it. It's not as much of a guess game as you may actually think. So that type of stuff always got to be aware of. And whenever you duel, that's just the risk that you gotta hold. But all things considered, I think dueling for the most part is a pretty good, pretty good mechanic, because the resting of a turn from losing is incredibly important in shaking up the situation that's going on the board. Because typically the player who moves first has an advantage because they can get to the stone before everyone else, because it's like turn based, right? And dueling is how you shake that up. Dueling and items, right? Is how you personally take matters into your own hands to shake it up so that they can't actually win, right? Because yeah, you can get into a mini event and a mini event makes you rest or whatever, or you can use an item and da 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 da. But like dueling is definitely how you shake things up, because not only can you steal a bunch of rings, you force them to wait for a turn and make it so that they're basically going last, right? So whenever you're playing versus mode, these are like things that you got to keep in mind. Uh, let's see. I'm not sure there's anything else off the top of my head that I need to talk about. So I think that about does it for